Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Tune In podcast with Sarah and Harry, where the theme this week is songs with animals in the title. We have a question from someone, so thank you, and we have what we've been listening to over the past week. So without further ado, here's Harry's list. We hope you enjoy, and all your crew look like Lego bricks.
Well, that's an unorthodox introduction. Thanks, Sarah, for that. Honestly, what's going on there?
Harry, you are not... No, that was not me. I don't... What? He didn't pre-warn me for that. What?
Well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. That's the opening to this episode because I couldn't be bothered to think of something to say, I'm not going to lie. But yes, this is episode 16 of the Tune In podcast. Welcome back. We apologise for... missing last week. We were just snowed under so much, but we hope you enjoyed the outtakes compilation in the meantime. I know I certainly did, putting it together. And
I'm sorry, what was the bit about Lego bricks?
Oh, it's just a lyric from a song. All your crew look like Lego bricks. I thought I'd end it with a nice thinly veiled insult at the listeners.
Well, that's lovely. I don't know what to say. I fully was not expecting that. I'm so sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's Halloween week. We thought we should just point that out. Time to get spooky, I guess. So as usual, obviously we've got our top 5. That goes without saying. We've got a question which is spooky themed, and then we've also got what we've been listening to over the past couple of weeks.
Yes, obviously, because we didn't put out one proper last week. But we think now, hopefully, that we have something in place. I know we said that last time, but we think we've got something in place now. And hopefully, we can stick to it as good as we can. But of course, if anything does change, like always, we will let you know. Or just publish another outtakes compilation if we have enough of them.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty. Without further ado, though, I think we should just get straight into it. Get straight into Harry's list.
Yeah, go straight into my list. So my first song with an animal of some kind in the title is yet again an extremely obvious choice, considering my music tastes as a whole. And I went with the song Centipede by Knife Party. It's so... early 2010s dubstep tropes because, well, it was released in 2012, so it kind of has to fall into that category. And it just isn't even, like, funny how ridiculously early 2010 sounding it is. But I just love it because it's such a Knife Party troll song, which is why I've grown to like them so much, because they're just... They just troll you all. Like, that's all they do, especially with the album Abandoned Ship. I think like only maybe 2 or 3 of the songs on there are actually serious, and all the rest of them are just meant to take the mick. So the entire opening of the song is taken from Discovery Channel's The World's Most Feared Animals, which obviously profiled the centipede in its natural habitat alongside tarantulas, with a few electronic effects and a beat of some kind added behind it. It was put onto their EP Rage Valley, and it has... kind of a venomous sound, much like the centipede, and the interjections of that word centipede do make me laugh whenever I hear them, especially because they kind of appear out of nowhere. But again, as I say, just falls into the Knife Party way of things. Unbelievably though, this is a fact I found out whilst researching this, it became associated with Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign, with it being used in the video game series entitled You Can't Stump the Trump, and the words centipede and nimble navigator featuring on the subreddit r/the Donald. I have absolutely no idea what any of that means because I do not want to go and look at those subreddits, but I thought it was an interesting point to bring up, and yeah, that's my first song choice.
Yeah, I really like Knife Party. Sort of came along with when I used to listen to Pendulum and stuff. And I think my favourite songs were Bonfire, Internet Friends, and Power Glove, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That is one that exists? Yeah, okay, cool. I got that right. However, I hate the fact it became associated with Trump. Because it's cool, and Trump's not, in short terms. But I know, I just wondered, like, what characteristics of the song do you think lent it to be used for those purposes?
Okay, well, this is kind of a. I don't know if this is a bad answer to give, but a centipede, or at least the sound effects, especially at the end of the song, they're very slimy and slippery and venomous, much like 3 characteristics that Trump himself possesses. Okay, I'm revealing my political allegiances. I admit, I'm nailing my colours to the mast. But I'm pretty sure we've done that many times on this podcast anyway, so it doesn't really make much difference. But I think it's also kind of like meant to be, I say it's a troll song in some respects. And I don't think Trump's campaign is a troll per se, but it certainly got turned into that, or people spun it to make it seem like it was. So I think with the centipede references, the exact word that I'm trying to think of does not come to mind, which I do apologize for. But with the centipede, like, implications maybe, and the, again, turning it into a troll campaign, I think that's probably the reason why it was used.
Okay. So is the game like poking fun at Trump, or is it like a one that they like Trump? Is it? Do you know?
Well, I haven't seen it or haven't like looked it up properly, but based on the fact that it's called "You Can't Stump the Trump," I don't think it's going to be a particularly family friendly game that is not in any way satirical. I feel like there's going to be some deeper political implication, or at least some kind of mocking gesture behind it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my thing. I mean, if you the fact that it's called "You Can't Stump the Trump," like, that's not serious. Surely that cannot be a serious video game title.
I'm assuming that it's a like a sort of gives him a negative type portrayal. If you can go sort of that black and white, I'm guessing.
Yes, I feel like it's going to be something along those lines. But I have no intention personally of playing the game. But I feel like it's not even online anymore. But if it is, then I'm sure it can be accessed via the dark web somewhere. So moving on from a troll song to one that is anything but, and has a lot more of a serene and calming atmosphere to it. It is the return of my favourite band of all time, I'd say, in Gorillaz, with their song Empire Ants. Now, interestingly enough, there are 2 songs directly next to each other on Plastic Beach, which have animals in the title. One of them being Superfast Jellyfish, which I came very close to picking, because I love that song as well. But in the end, I've decided to go with Empire Ants, featuring Little Dragon. It features Yukimi Nagano of that band on vocals, who provides the hook at the end of the song. Although she didn't actually know that Gorillaz existed prior to the collaboration, and thought that Damon Albarn had actually retired post-Blur. But then she realised how big a deal it actually was to collaborate with the virtual band, and agreed to it. The song is about, as Murdoch Nichols, the virtual bassist of the band, states, a moment's peace amongst the rush. So, a moment to take stock, take time back, and settle down. And you can tell this from the opening verses from 2D, the virtual singer obviously played by Damon Albarn, that he definitely comes in with a very calming singing voice, as well as the instrumental behind it being very dreamy, very, not utopian-like, but certainly, dreamy. That's the best word I can think of. Before the hook comes in with a complete mood switch, which is meant to reflect us re-entering the rush of, work or studying or anything like that. But I love that calm, swaying nature at the start, and it has an amazing Gorillaz blend of 2D being the main focus, but also supplemented by fantastic instrumentals and an additional guest, which I think they pull off absolutely brilliantly on this song.
Yeah, I really like it. I like the chillness of it, if that's even a word. But I don't know, I just didn't expect it from the Gorillaz. I guess I've only heard their most popular ones, and it didn't sound like that to me. But that's not to say I didn't like it. I still really liked it. You've sort of explained it a bit more, so it kind of makes more sense to me now. But I wondered what the title's relation had to do with the subject matter.
So this was actually something I deliberately left off the notes that I sent to you, because I did actually see what it was, or what the idea was. And ants are one of the animals which are associated with, working and obviously carrying the workforce back and forth. And the addition of the word empire means that obviously, we're essentially ants working for a greater global empire, which has very interesting political connotations to it. So, yeah, it has that kind of like, you know, we're all basically working for someone in a higher power as opposed to, you know, various different things. So I think that's what they were going for, but also it is meant to just reflect this kind of moment's peace before we eventually go back with, you know, this franticness really to Little Dragon's verses. And when she sings "Your little feet working the machine," I've always thought that to be like, you know, get back to work, and oh, look at you, you're just these little servants or serfs, if you rather, just working this machine, working this engine to get things back on track. I think that's what they were going for.
No, that makes more sense. And say, as you explained, like maybe like the end, more towards the end of the piece, you're like picking up the sort of chaos and the getting out of that moment of silence. And I was like, okay, that sort of makes sense to the sort of ants, like being a working colony, and then having the connotation of their empire also adds to that, which is, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was interested. I might actually pick up on something because you said I didn't really expect this from the Gorillaz. I think what you need to expect from the Gorillaz is everything but what you've come to expect.
Yeah.
I think like you can't really say, oh, I didn't really expect this from them, because you're like, well, I don't really expect much, or I say I don't really expect much, but like I don't really expect like what you would normally think could happen, because that's just what Gorillaz do. And also, I guess their album, The Now kind of falls into that category of really laid back and chilled out songs. I think the one which I can think of straight away is Sorcerers. That's, I wouldn't say it's got a similar feel, but it definitely, at the start of it, you can definitely hear this kind of not stripped back, but certainly kind of floaty, dreamy atmosphere that this song executes absolutely perfectly. So I'd also go and check out Superfast Jellyfish, because it is a complete contrast to this song, but that it's definitely more zany and more wacky than this one is. But as I say, it's a moment's peace amongst the rush, and if you ever need, you know, a minute and a half or whatever of just calm music, put on the first verse to this song, and you will not be disappointed, put it that way. Although maybe you might be, as with any of the other songs that we put onto the Spotify playlist at the end of each episode, which is either dependent on where you are watching or listening to this. It will either be in the description of the YouTube video, or it will be on our Spotify profile if you are listening to it on Spotify, or it can just be accessed via our Facebook page. Tune In with Sarah and Harry is exactly the same as the podcast title. Very easy to recognize. So with that shameless plug done and out the way with, we'll now move on to my third song in the list, which is a song which I actually kind of, not neglected per se, but I kind of heard on and off for a while, and then heard it in a YouTube video, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a great song. Why have I not remembered this? And it is the song Cobra Style by Teddy Bears. Before you ask, no, sadly, I'm not clued up in Jamaican patois, and I'm well aware that that could sound slightly offensive, but I really do have absolutely no idea what the lyrics of the song actually mean, and that's my own fault. And I couldn't find any explanations as to what it actually does mean, but I've picked this more on a musical sense or instrumental sense, although admittedly the vocals do sound very cool when put in combination with the music, so yeah. So a bit of information about Teddy Bears. They're a Swedish band whose genre I can't really define, but brothers Joakim and Klas Arlund are a part of it, with the former also being a member of the band Caesars, who are most famous for their song Jerk It Out. The song Cobra Style samples the riff from Good Thing by Fine Young Cannibals, as well as Busy Bees Making Cash Money and Press Trigger by Mad Cobra, who performs, or the latter of whom performs the vocals on the song. And I believe the vocals are actually taken, or some of them are taken, from the song Press Trigger. It featured on the soundtracks to FIFA 06 and Forza Motorsport 2, although it was actually released in 2004 on their album Fresh, and then re-released as a single, and then on their subsequent album Soft Machine in 2006. But as I implied earlier, I just love all the fusion of all of these various elements coming together, and the vocals are just so cool. I just love that the combination of the two, especially the riffs and all these various things going on. It just has such a not edgy, but just really cool sound to it.
Yeah, I think mostly all I've written is it's fine.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's definitely like for someone who kind of just comes into it. I think I can understand people just being like, oh, it's nothing more than fine. But like for whatever reason, it just clicked in my head, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I recognised the Fine Young Cannibal song instantly because I really like that song. I think my mum really likes Fine Young Cannibals, but anyway, you've sort of answered my question. But do you think the combination of the Jamaican patois and then the pop works? I know you don't know that much about it, but just from the sound of it, do you think it actually works?
Well, yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have included it. It's definitely something which I wouldn't really have given too much thought of before, like if it didn't come together. But I think with all of these various things, I know it's obviously like taking and sampling, which is one thing, and obviously a lot of people do sample without much success or just sample for the sake of stealing. But I think with this combination, I think it creates its own song in its own unique way. And even though all of these elements are like they seem so disparate, but it's a bit, again, a little bit like the Gorillaz in that they can concoct it all together with a lot of success. I think with all that in mind, I think if you had it as an instrumental, I think it wouldn't have worked as well. I think it doesn't have the same, certainly, effect, and certainly not like, the kind of, not brash, that's the wrong word, but it just comes off as a little bit barren, as though there's something else that just needs to be added. And then the vocals come in, and then that's it. It just creates, a Cobra style, if you rather.
I guess a better question would have been, to what extent does it work, rather than does it work? Because clearly it does, but like, I meant sort of, to what extent do you think it works?
It's fine. It was just like, oh, well, if I didn't think it worked, I wouldn't have put it on the list. So, I would have just disregarded it a long time ago.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is, I mean, it sounded cool, but that's because it used a lot of different things from different places, and those sound cool. So bringing all those things together would sound cool, but I would contest your point that you said it sounded unique. Just because I was able to pick out the Fine Young Cannibals song pretty much instantly, and as I do like the song, it's not. I wouldn't normally recognise it instantly if they'd used it in a unique way. That's just my interpretation of it, but it's fun to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a unique in terms of like the sounds that they use, like, or the sounds on their own. I think I was implying more that it's unique in terms of how they combine them all together. I think that was what I was getting at more than anything.
Okay, fine. No, that actually does make more sense.
Yeah, so not like I'm not saying that, oh, this particular riff is so unique because it's never been done before, and it's like, no, it's literally just a riff sample from a different song. It's just the fact that it's all coming together.
I mean, I thought you meant that they'd done it in a way, they'd used other things, but they'd made it sound unique.
No, they just it was just like the whole fusion of the whole thing, and that's why it sounds unique. The concept of it is unique. Okay. Yeah, the concept of everything coming together is what makes it unique. Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Cool.
So, yeah, that is my third song. My fourth is one of the most British sounding songs I've ever heard in my life, and it's great. It's the song "Feed the Manta Ray" by Slaves. Released in 2015 on their album Are You Satisfied? It's so British that it even puts the streets to shame, which is quite impressive. So for those of you who don't know who they are, Slaves are a punk rock duo who I didn't actually realise their drummer is also their lead vocalist. I didn't realise that. I thought it was their guitarist who was the lead vocalist, but no, it turns out it's their drummer. And like, they sound unashamedly British. I know I've brought that up so many times, but they genuinely do sound unashamedly British. Yet again, though, I have absolutely no idea what the song means as a whole. But they have some sort of explanation which I don't really think helps in any way to understand what the song is about. But apparently it was therapeutic and a reflection on how surreal their rise to fame had been. Because, I think they'd had a relative success with their song, I think it's The Hunter. And they'd also been on BBC Radio 1's Live Lounge performing the song Shutdown by Skepta. So they'd all kind of shot up into fame kind of suddenly, but I don't really think this song reflects it in any way, but that's what they've said. But they also have another quote from them, that they apparently, quote, had all the other lyrics and then there was no hook, and I walked out to go and get some food. This is the main vocalist, and I came back and they'd recorded Feed the Manta Ray over it, and then I went, it's always the Manta Ray. Then we were going to change the words to fit because sometimes you write a melody first, and then we never changed it, and I'm like, that's so stupid. I'm sure that clears absolutely everything up that you had about this song if you've gone and listened to it, because I still don't understand what this song means at all. But it's just got It's just really funny. I just love listening to it. But interestingly, though, the clean version was the one that was put on the album, but the explicit version was the one that was used in the music video, when normally you would obviously have it the other way around. So that was a nice little quirk that I noticed, because I remember watching the music video for the first time and thinking, wait, when was there an explicit version of this? Why is it not on the album? How peculiar. But, that was their creative choice, and I'm not going to denigrate them for that, especially because I think this song is an absolute banger, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. Yeah,
this is really cool. This is really cool. I really like it. I love how British it is, but not in my opinion, not in a sort of an obnoxious way like The Streets. I don't know, you're not going to agree with that, but fine. So as you were saying, like, this song doesn't have no one really knows what it's about, and I'm sure they also don't really know what it's about. And I think the Britishness comes across as more of a charm rather than in The Street seems to come across as a kind of a marketing / selling point. Like, that's like being British isn't a substitute for your personality. Like, that's the kind of thing I get from them.
Yeah, I think the Britishness with The Streets is that they kind of they're more exploring the lifestyle of British people, or at least before COVID hit, and they're more exploiting just like what the little adventures that, as Mike's going to quote himself, the little adventures that you go on in, like, nightclubs and bars in Reading and stuff like that, and not living the lavish lifestyle that many people give themselves across as living in, some British rap circles. Whereas with this, like, it's more to do with the kind of garage punk sound, and Slaves' Britishness is more a kind of gimmick in their music in terms of how they sound vocally and how they also sound instrumentally. It's kind of that fusion. Whereas I think The Streets is definitely more in terms of the story aspect to it. But also in terms of his voice as well. Also in terms of his voice, because it is very British.
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, that does sort of make sense. I think I just then prefer this sound over a Street sound, which is more of a personal taste rather than a critique of their music. That's
fair enough. But I also guess I'm just a sucker for songs which are just ludicrously British. So there you go.
As I've noticed, yeah.
Yes, as you've noticed over the last few weeks. But there you go. That's my fourth one, and we're actually going to stay in Britain for the final song in my list. And this is time for Harry's tenuous link of the week, because it doesn't have an animal or a type of animal per se in the song title, but the song is just called Animal, and it is by actually the first time I've managed to get a namesake of mine into the podcast, because Sarah, have you done that? I don't think you have actually.
I haven't done one.
It. Oh, no, well, there you go.
I almost did one this week, but I didn't. Sorry, continue.
Okay, well, this is the first song that we've had that is actually a namesake of ourselves. So, congratulations to Harry Shotter. You are the first person of that accolade. I'm sure he's very proud. So it's released on his album It's Showtime in 2015, and he is so ludicrously unknown, despite being, in my personal opinion, one of the best around. Like, I love most of the stuff that he's done, especially his latest album. I'd definitely go and check that out if you're into, like, this kind of D&B rap, so drum and bass backing, but with obviously rap flow over the top. Like, I absolutely love it. This song is more grime and hip-hop influenced in terms of beat, as opposed to drum and bass. But this song is actually a record breaker, as it holds the Guinness World Record for the most number of words in a song, with 1,771 at 4.59 words per second, beating Eminem's Rap God by 211 words. Shotter intentionally made Animal the same tempo and length as Rap God, as he said that he wanted to push MCing to the next level, his own quotes, and also, quote, have some fun. It got a lot of hate from Eminem fans since they thought it was a direct rip-off, but it is literally just him testing out his ability to rhyme as fast as possible, and I think it's safe to say he succeeds pretty well. And I also am aware that he might not, some people might think he doesn't really say all that much in terms of the lyrical content, which, again, I do understand that, but there are just so many different flows and different, like, sounds to the track, especially in the beat as well, and his speed rapping ability and clarity is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if I pulled it to shreds, I mean, I don't think I can after how impressive it is. It's not the kind of thing like I would listen to, but I do appreciate it and how talented he is. I just wondered, because obviously you said it's has quite a direct comparison to Rap God. It's just kind of a long question, so hear me out.
I'm braced.
Do you think the song was meant to be a comparison to Eminem in like a negative or positive, so like an attack of Eminem or an appreciation? If not, do you think it was perceived that way to any people?
Okay, so it was an appreciation, absolutely an appreciation. There's no way it wasn't. He's literally said it himself in an interview. He said Eminem is an absolute genius, and this was not an attempt to denigrate him or to make him feel worse. It was literally just to make him test out his own ability and see what he could do. It was nothing more. A lot of people, as I say, did take it as like, oh my god, how on earth can you do this like kind of thing for Eminem? But the two approach it their own different songs in different ways, because Eminem is more focused on the various different flows that he can put into it, because there are so many different ones. I mean, again, same thing in this song, but there is definitely a greater focus on, trying to fit in as many words as possible. Whereas I think Eminem was more focused on word content and also lyrical content, but was also extremely focused on just trying to embed as many flows as he possibly could into that song. Whereas I think like Shotta didn't really want to do that exact approach. I think his was more based on like, as he said, take MCing to the next level and try and just put in as many words as he possibly could. And the beats, for example, sound nothing like each other. So I don't think it's anything to do with trying to denigrate Eminem. I don't think that's the case in any way, shape or form. I think it's just like seeing what he could do.
Yeah. And the way that you describe that and the way that he came across in the interviews that you mentioned is obviously he has this appreciation. But I can see how some people who are obviously Eminem fans or people who've never heard of him would be like, oh, he's just trying to like be in competition, starting beef with Eminem, like beat that kind of thing. So I can see it, but it clearly wasn't meant that way.
No, not at all. It was never meant that way at all. I don't think so, especially because he's literally expressed being like, this was done just to test his own ability out, and if anything, again, show appreciation to him. Don't ask me which one I prefer, because I don't really prefer either. Although, having said that, I do know all the words to Rap God and I don't know all the words to Animal, so, make of that what you will. I'm not going to do a live performance because that might take a while. With that said and done, that is my list out of the way with, and now we move on to the good stuff, i.e. Sarah's list.
I mean, I beg to differ with my list this week. I'm not as confident as I am with some other weeks. However, the first song I am very confident with, because I love this song, my mum loves this song, my sister loves this song, so, 3 for 3, chances you guys will too. This song is Love Cats by The Cure on the album Japanese Whispers. So this came out in 1983, as I've said. This is when we did the years one, we did 84, but I was originally wanted to do 1983, and this was one of the songs I wanted to put on here. So actually, in a way, I'm glad that they didn't.
I feel like you've included this as some kind of revenge at me or something like that. Just like, how dare you not choose 1983 because you decided not to. I'm gonna pick a song from 1983 now. I'll
pick one every week if I must. Like. Well, I thought it was really interesting because I know everyone I know that knows the song likes it. I don't know anyone who doesn't like the song, but the lead singer Robert Smith said in direct quotes, "The Love Cats is far from being my favourite song. Composed drunk, video filmed drunk, promotion made drunk. It was a joke." So he didn't like the song. However, I think it just made it more fun. Not that drink responsibly and all that, but seriously, no, do it. It's not good.
Yes, please, yeah, do.
So that was a serious point. Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
However, I do think it might have made this song more fun. It sort of makes less sense, but I think it makes for a more fun song. According to, and it's kind of a bit ambiguous what it was about, but according to one source I found, he was inspired to write it after reading a novel by Patrick White called The Vivisector, which I've never heard of and don't really know what it's about. It didn't say what it was about on the source, so it's not really very helpful. But it also said the source said it was like difficult to verify the claim that it was like that, but that's speculation. So other than that, we really have no idea what the song is about. And also, just to add to the weird sort of drunkenness of this song, the music video features a number of cats and a large lampshade falling onto the head of the bassist, Phil Thornley. If those are the key moments of a music video, what is that music video? It is very, very strange. But the reason I like it, I like the bass. The bass line is incredible. I'm a sucker for a good bass line, as we've discovered from Harry's pick. I think that was last week. I like the piano riff with it. I like the sound, the jazziness to it. And his vocals also just really add to the quirky, surreal sound of the song.
Well, you say that everyone you know likes this song who has heard it. And that run continues, because I actually really like it. It's I do like the bass line. The start, I really like the start. I don't know why, but I just think it kind of sets the tone for all the zaniness that's about to come. And also the additions of brass, I think it makes it more musical. The only gripe I had with it, or massive gripe, was that it took me a while to get the rhythms ingrained in my head. I was so confused. I was like, wait, what am I don't know where the beat lands. Where is the first beat? And then I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. But I was just wondering, like, whether you thought the kind of musical or vaudeville like feel set it apart from like the standard 80s music, and if so, do you think it did so in a good way?
I think it does sound a lot different, even to other stuff they've done. Like, not a lot different to stuff they've done, but quite different. But a lot different to other stuff around the time. I'm trying to think what things came out around those years. What songs did we talk about in '84?
Dancing with Tears in My Eyes.
Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. The contrast between that song and this song is quite astounding. But even their song, so their other song that I know off the top of my head the title of is Friday I'm in Love, which is actually a 90s song. But
great song.
It's even quite different to that. That's a lot more serious. Not serious, because I don't think any of their songs are really like completely serious. But it's got a realised subject matter. It's got a more, I don't think it's got more complex harmonies, but I don't think it does. I think it's just got a I don't know, it just sounds very different regardless. I can't do an intense analysis of it at the moment, but it has a very different sound. So I don't know if it's positive or negative, I just think it's different. And I mean, that'll depend on who's listening to it and what they enjoy listening to. But for me, it's a positive thing, because I guess it sort of helps inspire other like subgenres and stuff. So like having it being slightly different musically from a lot of other things at the time would inspire more subgenres, if that makes sense. Not this song specifically, but any song that breaks off from the trends and the sort of traditions and everything. That's how we get new trends and new traditions, and that's how things change over time. Like,
yeah, obviously, like, it caught me off guard in the fact that I was just expecting, like, you know, some kind of synth pop new wave kind of thing, and then all of a sudden I get this vaudeville character, and I was like, oh, all right, I could see this featuring. I genuinely thought, I was like, with the title of it especially, I was like, it could definitely feature in some kind of Disney film in like the 70s or the 60s or something like that. I don't know why. I just got that impression that it could feature as part of one of those soundtracks. But also, very random link, Robert Smith actually appears on an artist's new album, whom we've mentioned earlier, in the song Strange Times by Gorillaz. So there you go. Although interesting enough, I think that's a much more serious take on, obviously, you know, the strange times that we are living in.
Yeah.
But his definite is very recognisable vocals do shine through there. So there you go. If you want to hear any of Robert Smith's newer stuff, go and listen to that song. Nice. Or more serious stuff, rather.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll move on to my next song, which is quite the contrast in subject matter, in sound, in time, everything. So the song that I picked is a song called Bulls in the Bronx by Pierce the Veil on the album Collide with the Sky. This song was released in 2012, and I just want to set a warning, potential trigger warning for anyone to do with suicide and mental health. If you don't want to listen to that, that's absolutely fine. Just skip forward a bit. So the song was written as a tribute to a Australian girl called Olivia Jane Penbrace, I think that's how you say her name, who took her own life at 19 as a result of years of bullying. I think it's quite a personal story for Vic Fuentes, who's the lead singer, she was an avid fan and came to a lot of his shows, and I think met him quite a few times. So it's not, a very nice topic, but it is a sort of needed topic, and I think it's a lovely tribute to have a song for her from her favourite band, which I think is really nice. The thing I really like about the song is the contrast in sound of the bridge section. It sort of sounds like a Spanish infused type sound, which obviously goes along with bulls and like bullfighting and Spain, which is quite cool. I think it does a great job at highlighting the topic as well, which is why I like the song.
Yeah, it's okay. Obviously I'm not going to say that I don't like it, because it's certainly a serious matter which has to be taken seriously. I'm not a massive fan of his vocals personally. I think that's just my own taste. It sounds a bit too jarring for me, but I love the instrumental backing to it. I really like the instruments, and I do like the messages that it put across. Like, I'm not going to say that I didn't. Unfortunately, you have literally answered both my questions in the space of 5 seconds, because I was going to ask, why do you think the bridge is so effective? And then when you said why, I was going to ask why you thought the title was Bulls in the Bronx, but then you answered that one as well. So I do not have anything really more to comment, but I guess maybe why is it the Bulls in the Bronx? Like, maybe is there another exterior connotation?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because the Bronx is an area of New York, and obviously she's from Australia. I wonder, are they from the Bronx, maybe? I don't know. I have honestly no idea. But obviously the Bulls thing relates to bullfighting and Spanish things, and Spain in general, and Spanish music, which is why they have that. But honestly, I could not answer that question. I have no idea why it's the Bronx.
That's fine. I didn't expect like anything like extra, because again, you answered it with your own link in the first place. Like, it was just some kind of, maybe there might be something else alongside it that I don't quite know.
No, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I tried to do as much research as possible, because obviously I didn't want to get it wrong. But it didn't mention anything about it being set in the Bronx, which I thought was pretty interesting, seeing as it's in the title. But sure, there must be a reason for it. If anyone finds it, welcome to let me know. I'd actually quite like to know as well.
If Pierce the Veil can get in touch, that'd be wonderable.
That'd be great. Just message us on the page. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
No, going back to, I just remember what I was going to say. Going back to the comment about not liking his voice, that is very much personal preference and stuff. And I like that you like the backing, because that's the bit that I like the most.
Right. Okay.
And I do like his voice, but I understand that it's a very unique and a very you either love it or you hate it type thing. I don't think I've heard anyone goes, yeah, it's all right, because it's quite unique. And as we know, I like unique voices. So
every week, I swear down, it's literally every week.
Yeah, no, it is. Talking about unique voices, I will get on to my third pick, which is a new song by an artist called Benee, Benee. And it's a song called Snail, and the song was written in lockdown, so it was written very recently and released maybe like a few months ago. So Benee is a up and coming artist from New Zealand. She had her breakthrough last year with her song Super Lonely, which I really like. You might have heard it. I think it went through TikTok, which is how it became viral, but I didn't have TikTok then, so I didn't find it through TikTok. I found it through, actually I found her like a couple years ago, but anyway, that's irrelevant. When I was trying to find the topic of like what the song is about, obviously it's called Snail, it's a bit weird, but apparently she's just had a weird fascination and obsession with snails, like how cool they are, which I thought was pretty interesting. I think she was just watching a snail in the rain and then was like, I'm going to write a song about snail. You know what? I totally respect that. I think that's great. The main reason I put it on the list is because it's quite different from my other picks, and also it's an upbeat, what I call like a cutesy type pop, sort of combined with her indie type sound vocals, her unique vocals. I just think the combination works really, really well. It's just a really nice song to listen to.
Right. Well, this is not going to go well. I hate to say it, but
No, you hate
yeah.
it. It's totally fine. I get it. It's fine.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
First and foremost, I have a thing against snails after I did a science project on them in year 5, which included racing snails against each other, and I now have a personal vendetta against them. Yeah, that was a thing. That was genuinely a thing.
Okay.
My teacher was weird. I don't think her voice sounds unique at all. I genuinely think it sounds. I genuinely spent about 25 minutes trying to think of who the singer was that she sounded like. I couldn't think of who it was, unfortunately. And then I also thought her production was kind of like, it basically took loads of different influences, which is fair enough. But I picked up Alice in Wonderland, Clean Bandit, and even some Outkast style dun 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 involved in the song, which was but it's still kind of a bit, I don't know. And in fact, the song made me so angry, I genuinely had to actually stop myself from listening to it. I had to come back to the other 2 songs later on a different day because I genuinely could not consider listening to it again. But having listened to it more since, I don't like it, but it's grown on me a little bit. So with all that in mind, my question is, with the eclectic range of influences that I've just mentioned, does she carry that on into her other songs?
So I honestly don't hear any of the influences that you're saying in the songs. I don't know, this might just be me. I think she has a very unique sound. I think maybe listen to Super Lonely. I think you'd like that a bit more. This one would have, it was written, produced, all mixed, everything in lockdown, when she was in lockdown. So I know that, I think she might have done it herself, maybe working with a small team. So it wasn't going to have amazing production value, which I know you like. But it was written under the difficult times of lockdown. You have to give her some credit for that. And I don't think her style is having completely clean production. I don't think that wouldn't be right for her sound, if you like.
Yeah, I don't know. Regardless of what it is, it's too cutesy for my taste anyway.
Well, yeah, no, that's fully what I expected, so that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I promise you, I really do promise, I do try as much as I can to go into all of these songs with a really open mindset and just think, yeah, I'll give this song. I mean, again, that one, what was it, Bon Iver a few weeks back. I really liked that one, and that's, I wouldn't say it's obviously similar, but again, it's cutesy kind of indie alt pop kind of thing, and I really like that. So I promise you, it's not me being all of a sudden switching my mind off and thinking, oh no, what's this? But this song genuinely made me angry because I couldn't think of what it sounded like. But also because I just thought it just didn't really sound extremely original. But again, as I've listened to it more, I've realised that its quirky nature is kind of, catchy is the wrong word, but definitely appealing to a certain audience.
Okay, you know what? I will take that as a small victory. That's fine. And with that, I will take it and go before I say anything that will upset you more. I'll move on to my next pick, which is, I think I mentioned Panic at the Disco too much, but you know what? We're sticking with it. This is a song, Mad as Rabbits, on their album Pretty Odd. This song was released in 2008, and it's probably off, I don't want to say it's my favourite album, but it's definitely up there. It's in the top sort of 2 or 3. I really love this album because it's so different. So different to their even stuff before and afterwards. So the song, there's a few different things, different references in the song, but the general song is sort of the chronicles of a person who's given up his position of complete freedom to live as a working man to sort of provide for his family, and he's lost the kind of joy in the sense of actually living his life and become as mad as a rabbit. That's sort of what it's about. There's also obviously references and allusions to Alice in Wonderland, and there's a line from it that says, "We must reinvent love," which is a reference to Arthur Rimbaud's A Season in Hell, which is a surrealist poem, which in my opinion sort of echoes the whole surrealist vibe of the song and the whole album. There's definitely some other surrealist influences. Well, I mean, Alice in Wonderland's quite a surreal kids book and film anyway. So also, what was quite interesting to point out is the music video was filmed at Abbey Road, and a combination between Abbey Road Studios and then the Pretty Odd album photo shoot that they had, which I thought was pretty interesting. Going back to when I mentioned it, so I think it was a couple of weeks ago, saying it sounded sort of like the Beatles and being produced at Abbey Road. This one has a Beatles Abbey Road link, so that's probably one of their inspirations for the album. The reason I picked this song and the reason I really like it is because it's just, the whole song has a sense of madness about it, not just the song title and the content of the song, but they've really reflected that in the sounds and the instruments and the sounds and the chords and harmonies that they've used throughout the song.
Yeah, I mean, you picked a Panic at the Disco song from Pretty Odd like 2 episodes ago. To be fair, I think with Panic at the Disco, you can probably get away with picking like a separate song by them in quick succession. I think they're a bit like Gorillaz in the fact that you expect the unexpected from them, especially on Pretty Odd. But I did enjoy this. I did enjoy this song. I wouldn't say I'm like a massive fan of Panic at the Disco, because I think a lot of the stuff they've done is pretty subpar. I think, well, not subpar, but like, I think the Emperor's New Clothes album, I don't particularly like that one that much. The one that song is on, I don't really like that one. But it's interesting, the panning at the start of the song. I did find that a bit bizarre, in the fact that I was like, okay, it's kind of delayed its introduction, and all of a sudden the mix picks up again. You're like, oh, okay, sure. So my question is, do you think that it works as a duet, so with Ross's vocals added in? Because I think Brendan Urie should have done this one on his own, because I think his voice suits it more than Ryan Ross's does.
Yeah, this is something that's sort of contested in my head. I think, so in their first album, Fever You Can't Sweat Out, they do have a few, not duets, but Brian Ross does sing on a few of them, and their voices sound more similar than they do in this album, which is really weird, and I don't really know exactly why that is. I don't think it should have been both of them doing it. I think it should have been one of them or the other one. At least not at the same time, just because their voices do clash a bit more than it did on the previous album, which I thought is kind of interesting, and I can't really explain why it does that, but maybe it's because they're starting to clash and fall out and stuff anyway. But I don't know. But yeah, no, the panning at the beginning, I've always thought of that as like, because it sounds almost distant and it's sort of travelling around your head, almost like something's like spinning. I don't know, I've always felt like has this Alice in Wonderland link, like you're falling down the rabbit hole. I don't know. This is, again, just completely my interpretation. I'm completely just taking it, because it's quite a sudden bit when it stops doing that as well. It's quite a sudden like fall. So that's how I've always felt listening to it. Probably isn't that. They probably were like, yeah, we just did that for fun. But that's how I've always felt about it.
That's interesting. I mean, again, that is a hypothesis. It's not a confirmed set in stone thing, but even so, that's still intriguing to consider, and definitely something that I hadn't really thought of before. But I mean, I kind of got the Alice in Wonderland idea, obviously, mad as rabbits. But even so, I wouldn't have delved that deep into it. But
no, I definitely think it's a stretch. But that's just how I've always interpreted what I'm hearing. It's sort of I have this feeling of falling, especially as also the melody is like chromatically descending as well to then finally rest on that point. I've always had that feeling of falling in the beginning. Whether it was intentional or not is another thing, but yeah, and I'm really sorry for mentioning 2 songs of Pretty Odd. I thought I had, but you know what, I won't mention Panic at the Disco again.
No, you can mention Panic at the Disco again, just not like straight away.
And I also won't do Pretty Odd again, because I feel like we've covered the surrealist nature of it pretty well at this point. Final song. I feel like I've also mentioned a song off this album, but
you have.
You know what? This is how I roll, okay? The song that I've chosen is House of Wolves by My Chemical Romance, of their album The Black Parade, released in 2006. So I was just a child when it was released, so I listened to it a lot later. So I think I may have mentioned this when I mentioned the album before, but I'll do a brief synopsis. Synopsis, it's not a film, but like a brief going over it's a concept album. I'll do a brief going over what the subject is of that. So it's centering around a character called the Patient, and it's just about his life and his death, and he dies and then he forms the Black Parade, which is like in hell and all that. Interesting. So the plot of this song is setting the scene for the Patient's arrival in hell, and throughout the song the Patient contemplates the dueling concepts of innocence and wickedness, weighing the worth of what he's done in his life and then how he's sinned. So sort of contemplating what he's been through in life and how that's going to affect him now in death. I really like the sort of liveliness to the sound, the fiery type sound, which I think has again this duality of both contradicting death because it's quite lively, but also signifying hell as it's quite fiery. So it both contradicts and sort of goes along with it, with the meaning of the song, if that makes sense. Also, the main reason I picked this again is I want to highlight the fact that it's a rock opera concept album, which I think is one of the coolest things I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I do actually quite like this album. Interesting enough, this is possibly one of my least favourite songs on it.
The Door is that way.
No, I feel like, I mean, I like the album. I just not a massive fan of this song in itself. It just sounds like Mid Noughties rock almost encapsulated, which is absolutely fine. It's just what it is. But it's all right. I don't dislike it. I just don't like it that much. That's all I'll say. For my question, I'm going to put you just in the perspective of an outsider. Can their sound almost become quite blurring? Like, can all the songs kind of merge into one? If you look at it from an outsider's perspective, or do you think they have some kind of difference to their sound? Again, playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, I think on this specific album, the sounds of them are quite different. Because if you think about what else is on the album, something like Mama, I think is probably a good example. If you compare the two songs, they have the same sort of emo type sound, but House of Wolves is much more rock orientated, where like Mama is very quirky, almost spook. I think it'd fit really well with Halloween. It's like spooky type vibes with the the different like sound effects used and stuff. I think it'd work really well on like a Halloween playlist, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas this one probably wouldn't, because it's just kind of more rock infused. I can't think of what the word is I'm looking for the type of music. I guess more sort of gothic infused. I can't think of what the thing is I'm looking for, but just kind of spooky. It sounds more spooky emo rather than just like emotional emo. I feel like the sound varies, maybe not as much as other things, but I think it does vary throughout the album quite a bit. So that is the end of my list. And now we move on to our question for this week, because obviously it's spooky season, Halloween week. This will come out the day after Halloween, so hope you had a great time and didn't go out partying, but had a great indoor party. Zoom is a wonderful thing, you know.
We're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored by Zoom, however, I feel like we should be at this point.
I mean, we don't even use Zoom to make to call, but whatever. We'll Zoom, if you're listening, please do give us a shout, because
if you sponsor us, we will use you for our calls.
Yes.
No, I guess the question is, what are we going to put onto the Halloween playlist? Like, what would you put onto your Halloween playlist if you had to pick maybe 1 or 2 songs to put onto the playlist? What would you put on? I, in fact, already have a Halloween playlist, because we're having a small in-flat celebration or in-house celebration. In terms of a pop song, I'm all for, as we know from, I think I put it on my 84 list, is Rock While Somebody's Watching Me. That is an amazing song to put on there, because it's literally Halloween and horror film inspired. So it's spooky and also funky. It's a perfect Halloween party thing. But if we're talking like Halloween music I put on to get into the spirit, definitely something from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Not one of the ones that references Christmas, like not What's This or Making Christmas or something, but I think This Is Halloween or the Oogie Boogie song. Both incredible songs. Or if I'm thinking, sorry, I'm going too in-depth into this, but if I'm thinking something a bit more sad, a bit more relaxing, I definitely go for Sally's song. But the singer Amy Lee did a version of Sally's song. Amy Lee's the lead singer of Evanescence, if you didn't know, so the one that did Bring Me to Life. She does an amazingly haunting version of Sally's song, so probably that.
I do not have like I'm not saying I don't want to come off as like a Scrooge of Halloween per se, but I don't celebrate it in the same way as other people do. I don't like fully get into the spirit of all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's as a result of working in retail and seeing promotions being done about 4 months in advance for no reason whatsoever. That might be the reason for it, and that's just my take on it. But I don't have like many songs. I don't know many songs that are like, you know, specifically tailored for Halloween. But I do have one, and it's very. It's a meme. It's a meme song. It's the Living Tombstones remix of the song "Spooky Scary Skeletons" by Andrew Gold. It was basically a meme amongst me and my friends for a while. Yeah, again, it's just like one of those ones that I would just revisit whatever time. But I don't really have like any other Halloween songs because I just don't. Again, I'm just not like I'm not that kind of particular person who celebrates it in that way. But I know that this song isn't on Spotify, but it is on YouTube, so I will leave a link to it in the YouTube video description.
I just like the Andrew Gold version is on Spotify, but not the remix. I'm not a Halloween person either. You wouldn't think that. I just like creating playlists. That's kind of it in terms of festivities. I'm much more of a skip Halloween, go straight to Christmas, or just ignore Halloween completely and start celebrating Christmas in September. But people, that's not socially acceptable, so I can't do that. But no, I'm not really a Halloween type person either, to be honest. But it's fun. Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah, like I'm not going to say like it isn't fun. I just don't like. I don't get into like the spirit of it as much as like some people do. Like I don't like face painting, for example, all that much because it takes an age to wash off. And I don't go out my way to buy like, you know, costumes because my mantra is like I'm only wear them once and then I probably won't wear them again. There's just not really much point. But
right, that reminds me, are we going to talk about what we're dressing up as?
Okay, so yeah, so might as well. So for Halloween, we were discussing ideas back and forth because I do not have a particular costume, but I decided obviously this is going out after Halloween has happened, but I decided to dress up as a Nintendo Switch with a blue hat, black suit, and red socks, obviously linking into the controllers and the screen. This admittedly was Sarah's idea because I'm not a visually creative person, but stop celebrating. Stop celebrating.
I came up with some good ones before that as well. You were just like, no, I don't have this, I don't have that. And then I was like, you have red socks and a blue hat. You
came up with sticking grass to my jumper. I don't think that's a good idea.
No, you can't just say that. That was a good one. I said put on a tracksuit, stick grass to your top, and then say you're a track and field athlete.
Let me know what you guys think of that because I think that's absolutely awful.
I think it's horrendous, but I think it's quite funny. I don't know. I've had it quite funny.
It's funny, yeah. It's very funny. It did make me laugh, but obviously it is awful. But that is my costume that Sarah proposed. What else have you got?
My costume. I recently had a bit of not a crisis, but just like we went into tier 3 up in Manchester, and I thought, you know what, now is the perfect time to dye my hair. So my hair is now a blue-black colour. Not that you can really tell. It goes blue in some light. So I decided, what characters have blue hair? And then I realised I also own a yellow raincoat, so I'm going to do Coraline. Another Halloween film I think is great. But yeah, mine's not nearly as creative as Harry's, which admittedly was my idea. So I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely was not my idea. I will have to say that. That's what we decided to go as. Obviously, completely off track from music, but you know, it's a festival of some kind, and I know that further down the line we will do a Christmas related episode.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously not right now because I'm not in the mood to do a Christmas episode until at least December. But yeah, that's
mid-November. We're doing one in mid-November. There we go.
All right, fine, whatever. We'll go with it.
So excited for Christmas. Anyway, sorry, I digress. After whatever you can make of that, now we move on to what you've been listening to this week, over the past couple of weeks. So, Harry, would you like to get us started on that?
Yes, so my first song is I actually recently created a playlist of EDM songs which I think are quite conducive to study or like work or whatever. So if you want to go and give that a follow, go and check out my Spotify profile. And one of the songs I put on there is the song It Makes You Forget It Giene by Peggy Gou, who is a South Korean born German DJ. But Peggy Gou basically makes like really laid back, chilled out electro house songs. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I would definitely recommend going and check out It Makes You Forget (It Giene). It's a great song in all, but Definitely not something I would put on whilst I'm going for a run, but definitely something I could put on in the background and chill to. My second one, I'm going to have to be quite careful with this because it contains an explicit word. I will give a rhyming thing for it. It is LP, who is a member of Run the Jewels, of course, but it's from his album Cancer for Cure in 2012, and it's the song, the full, how can I put this? The full guitar. It rhymes with the word guitar when said in that particular way. You can determine what you make of that. But it's just that kind of LP vibe of really, really weird lyrics and all over the place lyrics, but that don't make sense to anyone but him. And the beat is just so aggressive and angry, and it just works so well. It's just a typical LP sound, but I just love it so much. My third one, I've been trying to figure out for ages, like, because I'd heard this instrumental. It's one of my favorite grime instrumentals, and I didn't know what the song originally it was from. And I finally found it. It's the song "One Take" by Getz. I mean, the lyrics on it's a freestyle. The lyrics on it are not great, but I was trying to figure out the origin of that particular instrumental, and I finally found it. And it's my favorite grime instrumental by a long shot. So I will put a thing where it's like, you know, a song with actual vocals on it. I may even put Stormzy's one on the playlist instead of Getz's one, but it's more the beat that I was interested in. And my final one, I believe this has been mentioned on the podcast before, but I'm going to bring it up. And I don't know if I hate the fact that I like this song, but I do like this song. It's Obey by Bring Me the Horizon and Youngblood. I don't know why, but I really like this song. I'm not a massive fan of Youngblood's vocals, but I absolutely love the kind of heavy metal sound that they brought back, and the vocals from Molly Sykes and the kind of dystopian nature of it all. Again, I cannot tell you why. Not a huge fan of Youngblood's vocals, but everything else, song is great. So that's what I've been listening to over the last couple of weeks, especially.
So my list starts off with something that I feel like Harry's mentioned before, but I finally listened to it myself, and I finally listened to the new Nothing But Thieves album, Moral Panic. Really love it. Picked up on one song in particular, which is called Unperson. I really, really like this song. It's really cool. It's got quite a dark sound to it, I think. I don't know I can really describe it. It's just really cool. I just feel quite powerful when I listen to it. I don't know, it's really cool. Talking about being cool, the next song is called Cool Girl, and it's Dodie's new song. She's finally got some new music out. It's nothing, and this isn't me dissing Dodie. She is pretty incredible, and I do kind of idolise her in a musical sense. It's quite similar to a lot of her other stuff. She hasn't really branched out, but she's got a specific sound that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's still really a really good song, and if you like her sound, I fully do recommend listening to it. The third, should I say, piece that I came across when actually a housemate recommended it to me when I was trying to find pieces to inspire my composition for uni, and it's called Dance 1 When You're Broken Up by a composer called Anne Clyde, who's I think she's 21st century, if not very late 20th century composer. It's very calm, very quite classical and romantic harmonies, but with a sort of, I don't know, it does have a 20th century type sound to it, but it's not really what you'd think of when you think of like crazy 21st century like extended techniques and all these weird sounds, or like just silence for some people. But this is very like calm, very chilled out, very relaxed, and not really that weird, which I really liked. So yeah, that's my list, and with the end of my list comes the end of the episode.
Yes, that is the end of this week's episode. We really do hope that you have enjoyed our collection of Halloween stuff and also songs with animals in the title, as well as my amazing Google Translate introduction at the start of the episode. Thank you very, very much for listening to this particular one. And until next time,
We'll see you then.